You are doing everything right. 3 meals a day, on time, and no skipping breakfast. Maybe you even pay attention to the ingredients, choosing healthier foods than most of the people around you. But your body is still tired in an unexplainable way. You are still accumulating fat even though you do not eat much. You are still recovering slower than you did 10 years ago. And no one, not a doctor, not a nutritionist, has given you a satisfying answer for that. Here is the reason. It is not that you are doing it wrong. You are following a schedule designed in the 1950s by the food industry, not by human biology. 3 meals a day is not a requirement for your body. It is a habit packaged as a truth and repeated enough times to become something that no one questions. And every time you follow that schedule, you are turning off a cycle that your body was built to run through millions of years of evolution. A repair cycle at the cellular level, clearing out damaged proteins, removing faulty organelles, and detecting and destroying abnormal cells before they have a chance to become a problem. That cycle can only begin when there is no food in your system. And 3 meals a day, especially when you add snacks, ensures that this condition almost never happens. In the next 12 minutes, I will show you the name of that cycle, the exact mechanism of why your meals are interrupting it, and the specific number of hours required to reopen it without changing your entire life. Let us decode this. Imagine your body as an office building with 37 trillion employees working at the same time. During the day, when it is crowded, the hallways are narrow, the elevators are busy, and no rooms are empty. The cleaning crew cannot enter. They stand outside with all their tools, waiting. It is not because they are lazy. It is because the building is not empty yet. That cleaning crew is only called in when a single signal appears, which is that there is no one left in the building. Insulin is at zero. There is no more food being processed. Only then do they enter, sweeping away damaged materials, recycling what can still be used, and marking and destroying abnormal cells before they have a chance to multiply. Every time you eat your next meal, whether it is a salad, a handful of almonds, or a protein shake, you are turning the building lights back on. The cleaning crew puts down their tools and walks out. There is no debate. There is no negotiation. That is a biological rule, not a personal preference. And if this happens 3 times a day, 7 days a week, for 20 or 30 years, waste accumulates inside every single cell. It cannot be seen on standard tests. It does not cause pain in the early stages, but it accumulates. The name of that cleaning crew has been validated by a Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine. But before we get to the specific number, there is a mechanism you need to understand first. Because if you do not understand this, all advice about eating schedules will have no real meaning to you. Insulin is not your enemy. It is important to make that clear from the very beginning. Insulin is a management signal. Every time you eat, your pancreas releases insulin to transport glucose into your cells, providing energy for all bodily activities. In the presence of insulin, your body is in building mode, synthesizing proteins, storing glycogen, and accumulating energy for what is to come. This is the mode you need, right after a meal, for a few hours. The problem is that the building mode and the repair mode cannot run at the same time. Biology does not allow it. It is not because of a lack of resources. It is because they have fundamentally opposite functions. When the body is building and storing, it is not breaking down and recycling. When it is recycling, it is not building more. Those two modes alternate, but only if you allow that alternation to happen. Look at a typical day. You eat breakfast at 7 in the morning. Insulin rises, peaks around 8:30, and begins to decline at 10 o'clock. But before it returns to the baseline level, lunch arrives at 12 o'clock. Insulin rises again. Then maybe a little something at 3 in the afternoon. Then dinner at 7 in the evening. Then dessert or something small at 9 at night. In a day of eating 3 meals plus 1 to 2 snacks, your insulin remains at a high level from 7 in the morning until 11 at night, which is 16 consecutive hours. The baseline level, where the repair cycle can begin, only appears during the 4 to 5 hours of your deepest sleep. It is not enough to accomplish anything meaningful. And this is where a protein you have never heard of appears. When insulin is present in the blood, it activates a protein complex named mTOR, which stands for Mechanistic Target of Rapamycin. mTOR is the commander-in-chief of the building mode. It coordinates protein synthesis, stimulates cell growth, and drives the entire anabolic machinery of the body. When mTOR is active, the cleaning crew is not allowed into the building. It is not just slowing down. It is not reduced in efficiency by half. It is completely turned off at the molecular level. This is not a theory that was proposed recently. This is a mechanism documented in hundreds of studies with widespread consensus in the scientific community. But that is only the first half of the problem. Because mTOR is not the only thing keeping the cleaning crew outside the door. There is a second signal, and this is where most people, including many doctors, miss it entirely. Your body does not have just one switch. It has two, and they are completely opposite, like day and night. mTOR is the abundance switch. It turns on when there is food, when glucose is circulating, and when the body receives a signal that supplies are arriving. The second switch, named AMP, which stands for AMP-activated protein kinase, is the scarcity switch. It turns on when glucose runs low, when glycogen in the liver begins to decrease, and when the body realizes no more food is on the way. AMP does something that mTOR can never do. It calls the cleaning crew in. AMP is the only signal that can activate autophagy on a body-wide scale. When mTOR is on, AMP is off. When AMP is on, mTOR is off. There is no middle state. And this is why one of the most common nutritional pieces of advice today is a much bigger problem than you think. That advice is to eat multiple small meals throughout the day, 5 to 6 meals instead of 3 large meals, to maintain a stable metabolism and avoid hunger. In terms of controlling cravings, that advice is not wrong. But for the cellular repair cycle, it creates a condition that is worse than any other eating habit. Every time you eat, even if it is just a handful of almonds, a green smoothie, or a small piece of cheese, glucose drips into the bloodstream. mTOR receives the signal to keep going. AMP is never activated. The cleaning crew is never called. This is what accumulates inside your body after many decades. Damaged proteins that are not recycled accumulate inside cells and reduce their efficiency. Old mitochondria, the energy-producing organelles of each cell, are not replaced, leading to a chronic energy drop that you attribute to age when in reality it has a much more specific cause. Precancerous cells are not detected and destroyed at an early stage when the body can still handle them easily. Researchers monitored the level of autophagy in white blood cells of people eating 3 regular meals compared to people who restricted their eating to an 8-hour window, with no changes to the type of food or total calories. The group that restricted their eating window had a clearly higher measurable level of autophagy after just 4 weeks. Not after many months, not after a year of persistence. 4 weeks. This is the signal most people ignore. It is not because it is hidden. It is because no one puts it next to your breakfast and tells you directly what it means. And this is where the story becomes impossible to ignore. Because the person who proved all of this received an award that very few people know was about this exact topic. In 2016, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine to a Japanese biologist named Yoshinori Ohsumi. It was not because he invented a new drug. It was not because he found a cure for a specific disease. It was because he completely decoded the mechanism of autophagy at the molecular level, proving exactly how cells break down and recycle their own damaged components to maintain life. The name autophagy comes from the Greek language meaning to eat oneself. It is not in a destructive sense. It is in the sense of controlled and intentional recycling. The body dismantles what is no longer working well and reuses the raw materials to build something new and more functional. That Nobel Prize was widely reported in the scientific community. But few reported on the practical consequence right next to it, which is that the most common eating behavior on the planet, 3 meals a day, on time, and never skipping a meal, is the most effective schedule to prevent autophagy from finishing its work every day. This is the signal that most people miss. Autophagy is not lacking because your body is weak. It is lacking because you are eating on time. So now that you understand why your body is doing this, Here is how you change it. The first step is to define your eating window. Do not use the word fasting. That word carries too many wrong connotations of deprivation and suffering. An eating window is simply the period of time during the day when you allow yourself to eat. Outside of that period, there is nothing except plain water and black coffee. The goal is not to endure hunger until you are exhausted. The goal is to create a long enough period of time so that AMP receives the scarcity signal, activates, and calls the cleaning crew in to do real work. The minimum number from existing research is 14 hours of not eating. The optimal number is 16 to 18 hours. A practical example is eating for the first time at 11 in the morning and eating for the last time at 7 in the evening. An 8-hour window to eat and 16 hours for the cleaning crew to work. They enter the building at 9 at night and leave at 11 the next morning. There is no need to change what you eat. You only need to change when you eat it. The second step is to recognize 3 things that frequently break the repair window, which most people do not think about. The first is milk in your morning coffee. Even if it is just a little, the lactose and fat in the milk are enough to trigger a small amount of insulin and send a signal for mTOR to keep working. Black coffee completely avoids this problem. In fact, a study from the University of Graz, Austria, shows that unsweetened caffeine can slightly stimulate the process of autophagy, which means it works in the same direction as your goal, not against it. The second is healthy snacks outside the eating window. This is where many people get stuck because the logic sounds reasonable. Almonds, fruit, a piece of cheese, spoonful of peanut butter, these are all good foods during a meal. But any amount of calories outside the window turns the building lights back on. There are no biological exceptions for phrases like, but it is low in calories, or but it contains no sugar. Insulin does not read food labels. It only reacts to what actually arrives. The third is eating dinner too late. If your last meal is at 10 at night and you go to sleep at 11 o'clock, autophagy does not start until midnight and ends when you eat breakfast at 7 in the morning. That is only 7 hours. It is not enough for the cleaning crew to complete a meaningful cycle. Pushing dinner earlier by 2 hours, in many cases, brings clearer results than any change in the type of food you are eating. The third step is supporting electrolytes during the non-eating window. When insulin drops, your kidneys excrete sodium faster than normal, which is the reason many people feel a headache or exhausted during the first days of changing their eating schedule. The body is not in need of food, it is lacking sodium, magnesium, and potassium. Mineral water, with a pinch of sea salt during the non-eating window, resolves this issue without triggering any insulin response. The cleaning crew has been standing outside the door of your building for many years. It is not because your body is broken. It is not because you lack discipline. It is because the building has never been empty long enough for them to enter and do the work they were built to do. Now you know exactly how to create that space. Your body is not broken, it is responding. Now you have the translation. There is one final variable in this equation that we have not touched upon today, and it is the thing that determines whether your autophagy actually completes a full cycle. It is not about food. It is not about when you eat. It happens during the first 90 minutes after you fall asleep, and if you are making one of the most common mistakes before bed, that cycle is cut short before it can reach where the body truly needs it to go. That is the next decode. Comment decode if you have ever been told by someone that skipping breakfast is bad for your health. And today you are beginning to understand why the answer to that is much more complicated than what you have heard before.